Hey guys, Randy back with another episode in the Duplication Nation MLM podcast. This is our Chopping It Up series. If you're new here, that's where I get a partner. They're not a guest, they're family, and we talk like real family do. It's not an interview. I don't ask them things they don't ask. We really just have a conversation. And you get to eavesdrop in on it. And the people that I vet and select for this are the top elite level people in our profession. These are people who are just crushing it at the highest levels. And so this week is no exception. We have the extraordinary, I'm sorry for the thunder, it is a fierce thunderstorm in Miami. But today I'm honored to be the presence of the legendary, we can say, Rafael Rojas. So my friend, it's so great that we finally got this together.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to share and spend some time with you for everything you've done, your books and everything. So it's a pleasure. It's an honor for you to invite me to this conversation.
Yeah, let me pull up I'm just realizing I didn't even plug in my microphone. For those of you watching or listening, I am been blessed with my third bout of COVID-19. So I'm on the rebound trail. So forgive me if I seem out of sorts. So, Rafael, I thought an incredible place to start with you might be, I like to see, people have in interviews or stuff, they'd call me a great American success story because I come from a single mother who raised 3 kids and very poor, and I've become very wealthy. I think you're even more the prototypical American success story because you came as a very poor immigrant, I believe, and have really reached stratospheric levels of success. Can you maybe share what you went through and what that means to you when I mention that?
Sure. Yeah, it's been a long process. I arrived in the United States when I was 18 years old. And the idea was just to make enough money to come back to Mexico and open a small business. I grew up with a grandfather that would tell me, it's better to be the lion's tail than the monkey's head. And I would ask him,
Wow.
why the tail? I don't want to be a tail. He's like, well, you want to be building something. You don't want to work all your life and be running around and working for somebody else. You want to have your own business. My family is from Spain, so my grandfather, he was at the Second World War. He was in a concentration camp. He lost everything. He came from a wealthy family in Spain, but he lost everything in the war. He was at a concentration camp. He escaped, came to Mexico with nothing, and then he became a millionaire. He was very successful. So I grew up with that philosophy. You gotta be your own business, your own boss. So I came to the United States with that mentality, but unfortunately, I didn't know the language. I didn't know how to do anything. So my first couple of nights I slept on the streets in Dallas, Texas, on a
Wow.
bench downtown,
Wow.
and then I slept at a church. Um, in that church, that's what they told me. Look, we can't have you here forever. You need to find a job. And they told me you gotta go look for a job at a construction or restaurants. That's where they would usually hire immigrants like you. So I went to restaurants, many of them, and I got a job at washing dishes at a restaurant. And the dishwasher next to me, I told him my situation, and he said, "Hey, you can stay with us." And I was like, "Oh, how nice of you." So I arrived at the apartment. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, and 11 people were living there. Everybody sleeping on the floor, no furniture. And I'm like, okay, this is better than streets and church. So I
Yeah.
did, so I did that, and then everybody at that apartment worked at night cleaning offices. So they got me a job there too. So I was cleaning offices at night, working at the restaurant during the day, and just do that. Just do that. It was comfortable. It was hard, but my goal was just save money and then go back, right? And what happened is that time went by so fast, and before I knew it, there was I've been doing that for about almost 5 years, and I was frustrated. I was sick and tired. I was not saving the money that I was supposed to save because I mean, you make minimum wage and you spend dollars also, so you don't. So, but I learned a big lesson, and actually that lesson helped me be who I am right now. And it was a Christmas time. I was homesick, 5 years away from my family. My dad passed away during that time, and I was so depressed. And I remember we were all sitting on the floor Christmas Eve, and eating pizza. And I asked one of the guys, "Hey, how long have you been doing this deal? 2 jobs, not seeing your family?" And he said, "Well, I've been doing it for 14 years." I'm like, "What?" And then I asked
Wow.
the other guy, and well, I've been doing it 13 and 17, and all of them, had way more time than me. And then I learned the lesson that if I keep doing the same thing, I'm going to end up like these people, and I don't want that. I need to change. I need to go somewhere else. Um, and then later on, I read in a book. I don't remember which one it was. Something that says if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you'll keep getting the same results. Um, so I moved to California and I started looking for something new. And that's when I read a newspaper article. And I remember it says bilingual, $1,500 a month, no experience. So I called. And then when I called, I get there and I see this beautiful office and a bunch of people there, and I'm like, what is this job all about? And that was my introduction to network marketing. It was a water filter company called NSA back in.
NSA had to be because I
Yeah,
did NSA and we always did those centers with the offices.
right. Yep. So I did that, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was really bad at it for the first few months, and everybody was telling me to quit. That doesn't work. They brainwashed you, but I kept going. I met my first mentor there, very successful man. His name is Bill Gould. Um,
Oh my goodness. Yes, Bill he is a character.
right, yes. So I was enrolled or sponsored by back then his girlfriend. Okay, her name is Sherry, and uh, and then she was the top leader in the company, and he was like a beast doing the business back then. And so after a few months, he took me under his wing. He's like, "Hey, you Spanish guy." He's like, "Look, I don't want to learn Spanish, but I know the potential of the Spanish market, so I will take you under my wing. I will teach you, and you will do it. You'll do it in Spanish." And I'm like, "All right, cool, let's do this." And so I started learning from him, and within the next year, I went from making no money to being one of the top guys in that company. And then he opened his own company. He went from NSA. He opened his company called Equinox. So we started that with Equinox. That was my first change. That's when I learned how it feels like to lose your entire group because it was bad. Anyways, but I started working with
You
him.
know, I never knew Bill was in NSA. I just know of him from Equinox. That was, his introduction to the big world. I think that's it's fascinating to hear he cut his teeth on NSA too.
Right. Yeah. And well, he became one of the top leaders in NSA, but there was a lot of politics there with another leader called Jeff Roberti. So he was underneath him, but they didn't get along, something like that. And the guy was growing like crazy. He had the largest group, one of the largest groups in NSA. And then he decided to open his own company. And the first few months, it was a disaster because we didn't have products were damaged. I mean, he just launched the company and we all went for it. So I went from making good money to the first time in network marketing, crashing and having no group, no money, and starting all over again. but I did it, and I became in that company Equinox. I became the top five in the company. I met great people like Mark Casera and well, a bunch of people that I can mention, and I worked with them, and then I did that for a few years, but it became a nightmare. That company,
Yeah.
these
It was
bills.
crazy. It was a circus.
Yeah, it was a company just built on Bill Gould. His ego was to the roof. I mean, I met him when he was making good money, but years later, the guy was making millions and tens of millions. So his ego went crazy. It was crazy. He would insult people on stage, insult the leaders. I mean, it was crazy. So
He was just batshit crazy.
yes, I mean, he just like, I mean, money, I always said money makes more of what you really are. And so I guess we got to see who he really was. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful because I learned the basics with him. And so I left that company. I said, I can't deal with this. I just don't feel comfortable anymore. I'm out of here. And so that's when I started my network marketing career with different companies. I looked for a company, back then it was called Enrich.
Yeah.
And and the reason I looked at that company is because they have business in Mexico, and I wanted to also build in Mexico. So I came down to Mexico. Actually, I'm in Mexico City right now. So I came here to check out the company, make sure they had everything in place, and because I was going to move from Equinox to this new company. So I come here, and then they tell me, no, everything is great. I went to the offices, everything looked good. I said, guys, do you have products in hand? I'm bringing in a team. You know how it is, right? So yeah, we got everything. Just go for it. And so I do the move. I bring in about 1,000 people, okay, and the guys didn't have inventory, and so everybody's waiting for the products. Month one, month two, month three, and you know what happens when you do that. Everything collapses. People think you ripped me off. It's been 3 months. I don't have my product. Then when product finally arrived, it arrived damaged, and it was a disaster. So my little team that I brought in from Equinox that was strong, I pretty much lost it by doing this switch with the wrong company. And so I got crazy enough to say, oh yeah, that's it. My ego was high too. So I said, I'm going to open my own company. So I opened my multi-level marketing company here in Mexico. Uh, I was 27 years old and inexperienced. I thought, how hard can it be? You get some compensation plan. Oh my God. To make a long story short, I lost everything within 10 months. Everything I've had, everything I own, everything. Lost it in 10 months. And that's when I took a break. Um, this is a funny story. Well, not funny, but my sister, I grew up as a Catholic, right? And I wouldn't go to church or read or anything. But my sister was a Christian, my older sister, and she kept telling me, you gotta meet God and you gotta blah blah blah. She was trying to, and I remember she told me one day, look, every business you've been doing is fail, and maybe God doesn't want you there. Maybe God wants you in the church because you know how to speak, you're good in front of the room. And she tried to sell that on me, and I was like, well, maybe. And so I went to the church and I became a Christian, and I said, all right. My sister told me, you got to listen for God to see what He wants in your life, right? So I spent a year. Okay, my wife was just pregnant with her first child. We had no income, and I'm there praying at an apartment. After living in a nice house and everything, I was in an apartment with no money, and I was praying. I'm like, okay, God, you're supposed to talk to me. How does this work? When do I get the sign or what? And my question to him was, do you want me to go to church and work at church? I do it. Or you want me to keep doing what I know how to do, which is multi-level marketing. So I spent a whole year like that waiting. And my first child was born, and I mean, I don't want to sound crazy, but I felt it. I felt that God told me, go back. I felt that He told me, I don't want you at church, because at church, people already know me. I want you outside. where people don't know me, and I want you to tell them about me. And you do that, and you'll be okay.
I want you to go out and tell them I have the best infinity bonus in the business.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I did that. I went back to work. I was in El Paso, Texas back then, but everybody I knew was in California. So I went back to San Diego. I called the Sherry, my old sponsor, and I said, Sherry, what are you doing now? And she's like, no, we're doing the best business ever. We send a tape to people and they listen to it and buy stuff. I'm like, whoa, what tape? And then she sends me a tape, and it was Dead Doctors Don't Lie.
Don't lie.
And it was New Vision, right?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And then she's like, oh, there's this guy, he's making all this money, very young. He came up with this idea. Instead of getting people to invest money on products, back then people used to invest $3,000, $5,000 to get started on a business. And so this guy came up with an idea, Valenti was his last name, to just send tapes. They would tell people, okay, come in with $5,000, buy a bunch of tapes, and send them out to these lists. And then when people will call you to want to buy the New Vision vitamin, whatever. And I'm like, all right, let's do that. Yeah, okay, I can do that. So I packed my wife on a U-Haul with my little baby in the middle, and I drive from El Paso to San Diego, ready to go to do this deal. When I arrived to San Diego, I tell Sherry, all right, Sherry, where's the tape? I need to send it. First of all, I need to translate it in Spanish, and I'm gonna do this in Spanish. And she's like, oh, wait, we can't send the tape anymore. I'm like, why? Well, the FTC, told us that we can't do that. It's misleading because the doctor is not a doctor; he's a veterinarian, and blah blah blah. I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? This was a new way to do it. And she's like, well, no, but just go back to whatever you used to do, right? So I'm like, okay, let's do meetings like the old-fashioned way. The compensation was horrible, so you couldn't make any money on that. So I quit. I met the Barracos, and they were like, yeah, no, stay, we'll help you out, we'll give you some money under the table just for you to, you getting started. And I did that for about a month, but I didn't feel comfortable. I'm like, no, this doesn't work. Thank you. And that was it. And I found a new company, a small company in San Diego, and they offered me to be able to work at a basement in National City, not a nice area. And so it started my whole career. And I tried many companies through the years, and I have good times, bad times. I learned a lot. So, yeah.
Amazing. A couple of things jump out at me with that. First of all, I had no idea we had so much in common. I did the NSA thing. We did the center. I invested as, you were one of the partners in the center. You all came together and paid the rent. It seemed like a brilliant idea. It's actually a terrible idea. But so we were doing opportunity presentations 3 times a day, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 7 p.m., just, and I met one of those people that you mentioned, who I won't repeat the name, who after, I was struggling, but and then finally after a couple of months, this top guy came in and he said, that's your problem. You haven't bought the $5,000 worth. If you come in at $5,000, you will be car qualified
right.
next month. And unfortunately, my credit was so terrible that even though everybody got approved, they wouldn't approve me because I would have not had the willpower to resist it. And so that's when I left. I realized like, no, I think this is a front loading deal. I see a lot of people selling these water filters at the flea markets for $5 each, because they bought $5,000 worth of them. And the cast of characters, it's like a who's who of, starting with Bill Gould. I mean, he is just, crazy man. He's like crazy man number one. But what was fascinating, jumped out at me, was he did something really savvy that I am literally going to California, assuming I can clear my COVID before I have to get on a plane in 2 days. And I'm working with a leadership team there for a client that company I work with. And they're a US only company, have a really strong financial product line. They're doing really well. And they have nothing happening in the Spanish speaking market. Because it's a new company, small company, and their top leaders are all gringos, and they're brought in their gringo friends. And so they have nothing translated in Spanish, nothing on the website, none of that. And here in the United States of America, to not be working the Spanish market, you're insane, right? I would probably make the argument the Spanish speaking market is the best market in the United States, better than the English speaking one, right? So that's what I'm going to be telling these guys and gals out there this weekend is, come on, you know, and the fact that even back, it wasn't that much in those days in the United States, but it certainly was in California, right? And so for Bill to have the savviness to say to you, listen, I don't know Spanish. I don't want to learn Spanish. You know Spanish. Let me teach you, and then you do it in the Spanish market. That is such a formula for success. And you could do that with, I don't know if you say Tagalog or Tagalog, the Filipino language, that's like the #2 language in California.
Right. Well, actually, I did that because I learned that. So I said, okay, I want to open the market. So I have a humongous Filipino organization, and I did the same thing. I got top guy. Look, I'll teach you, and then you can just go do it. And that's how we did it. And we've done it in different languages. And I tell people when they come, a lot of people come to me like, hey, Rafael, I got this leader or this person that speaks Spanish. Would you, And I tell them, wait a minute. Okay, do you speak Spanish? They go like, no. And I'm like, and does your prospect speak English? They go like, no. But, he's a good guy. I mean, he mows my yard and he's a hardworking guy. I'm like, that's not going to work. I can talk to the guy. I'm pretty sure I can enroll them. But what's next? You're dead, because I'm not going to be doing the work for you. You can't communicate. So what I teach them is this: look, what you need to do is you need to find a bilingual guy, all right, that speaks Spanish or whatever language, but speak English, so you can teach him, and then you can communicate with them, and then he can be your guy that both gets the market of that language. So anyways, that's what they did with me, and I do it. So
yeah, and I just think more people, I wish they really understood that. So like you have had huge Filipino lines. I can go north of here into Hallandale and huge Russian speaking community. You can go to LA, there's huge Vietnamese speaking community, huge Chinese community, huge, New York City, Miami, a huge Japanese speaking community. And of course, that's how most beginners start. Usually your group looks like you. So if you're a gringo, you got gringos. If you're Latino, you have Latinos. But the smart leaders realize, okay, as I get down the second generation, the third generation, the fourth generation, as those, points of contact, whatever it is that with every 7 people, somebody knows Kevin Bacon, whatever one of those things is. As soon as you get down a few levels like that, that's where it will branch out. And I think any top leader will tell you, oh yeah, I have my gay line, I have my Chinese line, I have my Spanish line, I have my, whatever line, because that's really a savvy way to build a business.
That's right. Exactly right. Yep. That's right. And I mean, it's not that hard. The problem is that they think I don't speak the language, so I can't. No, find someone that speaks the language, and it's bilingual. Bilingual is you see, I told you, when I enrolled in the first MLM, I answered an ad. Back then, we used to use ads that said bilingual with bold letters, and that got me right there, boom. So, I use that too, you find a bilingual guy, and then he can help you open the market.
Throughout my direct selling success book, I put what I call the $1 million tips, try to sprinkle them throughout. And one of them is sponsor your weakness.
Exactly.
Whatever your weakness is, if you sponsor it, you eliminate it. You say, I don't have a car. Okay, sponsor somebody who has a car. Oh, I'm really shy. I'm afraid to talk to people. Okay, sponsor somebody who's really outgoing and gregarious. I don't have any money. You know, there was times in the business I had no money, but I sponsored somebody with money. And they bought their kit, and they even bought tools for me and said, here, I'm going to lend you some of these, and we're going to work together as a team. And, you know, so whatever your weakness is, you can neutralize it by sponsoring it instead of running away from it.
Yeah, that reminds me of, you know, we talked about back in the day, having offices was supposed to be the greatest, the new thing, right? And so I didn't have any money. I was in LA, and I'm like, I need to open an office here in LA. And so what I did is, like you said, I sponsored a person that was wealthy, and I told him, look, let's open an office, all right, and we're gonna make all this money, right? And he put the money in, and within 30 days, I had an office, which, by the way, later on it exploded on my business. So yeah, find somebody that has what you don't have.
So how do you build today versus how you were building back in the day?
Okay, I know nowadays everybody's going for the online. Let's do, you know, Zooms till we're blue in the face, and I don't know, man. I'm still old fashioned, you know, eye to eye. How you doing? I want to know about you. For example, right now, I've been on the road for a few days, and I've been meeting people. Right now, I have in a couple of hours, I came to this city just to meet with this potential leader, and that's how I do it. And if he enrolls, then I'll be coming down here to work with them, especially at the beginning. I want to make sure they do it right. They understand what we're doing, how we're doing it. I will help them, you know, I don't know, 2-3 months until they get on their feet and they're making good money, and then pretty much understand it, and they don't need me that much. And then but I do it. I do that. I know it's uncomfortable. I was talking with my wife about it. Like, you know, a lot of people do just Zooms, which is great. I mean, it works for a lot of people. And I think, well, that's cool, man. I can be in my house doing Zooms all day long. I don't have to, you know, I could be in my shorts and my tie up here, and you know. But I don't know. I'm old-fashioned way. I like to meet people. I want to see their eyes. I want to know, you know, what they want, what they don't want, what they're looking for, what their needs. I mean, I want to know everything about them, and that way I can help them. So yeah, I'm still face to face. I like to do meetings. I like to hang out with people. I mean, I know online is great, but I like it better when there's a group of people, this energy that it's created, the bonds, the friendships. You know, that means a lot to people, and I think people are looking for that too. So I do both. Don't get me wrong. I do Zooms but I do like 1 or 2 Zooms to present my company a week. Everything else, it's face to face.
I will tell you, I have the perfect position in this profession because I'm a field guy, true and true. I came from the field. I am in the field. I still have a team. And I get to consult with some of the best, most innovative companies who are doing great things, and I can partner with them and help them do even greater things. And then I have like my prodigy council that I do with Jaime Loquier and some high level coaching. And then I do this series. So I am talking to the most successful people in the space on a daily basis, not what, like, you know, how many, who did I think the last show was with Eugene Hong. You wouldn't even have seen it. It's not published yet, but actually it was with Ryan Thompson, where it's up on the site right now, where there's so many dinosaurs in our space. And so hey, you know, I built 20,000 people, and if you bring me to your company and give me a sweetheart deal and pay me and then it's like, okay, so what are you doing? And they're talking about those goddamn dead doctors don't lie tapes. And I'm like, You do know nobody has a cassette recorder anymore, right? Has anybody broke this news to you? They're still just living in the past. So I mean, I'm on a daily basis, I'm interacting with the people who are doing this at the highest levels of success. And 97% of them would say exactly what you just said. Hell, I love the online stuff. You know, I do some. We have our weekly thing, or we do a weekly opportunity, and we have a weekly leadership academy. But man, what really took off after COVID was when we started getting back in the wild again, meeting real people in the real world, putting the bunny slippers in the closet, putting on real shoes, going out in the real sidewalk, and going to meetings and events, because events are the glue that drives the business.
Right. I mean, I always say it. I mean, you can watch a concert on YouTube, but you're not going to have the same experience as if you go to the concert. So in this business, is a lot about emotions, a lot about feelings, a lot about connections. And if you don't do that, I mean, for me, it doesn't work. I have to do it. So yeah, I'm like you. I'm doing meetings all over the place, you know. But that's what I do. That's how we build a business.
So what's on your list of things you want to chat about?
I don't know. Maybe we can chat about something that it's been bothering me for a few years. How some people have used the industry that we're in. That is wonderful. It's changed so many lives. Changed mine. So grateful for it. But there's so many people that use the industry to rip people off, you know, create these scams, these Ponzi's, and I've seen so many people being hurt. And as I travel around and I hear people, well, I don't know, I just lost money, or my mom lost money, and then they think this is the same thing because they used our system. They call it a network marketing business, or you know, whatever. But in reality, it was Ponzi. So I don't know what you think about that. I've seen it. I'm sure you have, but it's kind of sad.
Yeah, this podcast is built out of this media outlet that Jaime Loquira and I have started called DuplicationNation.com. And it was driven by that mission of, we got to take the profession back from the scammers. I wrote a manifesto back in 2000. MLM is dead. And it was it was one of the first really viral things in network marketing, because, you know, the internet was finally coming into its own at that time. And so I did a big promo of, you know, okay, this manifesto is coming out at 12:01 midnight on the millennium. Put your name on the sign up list, and then you're going to get an email when it goes live, and you're going to be able to download it. And we just had tens of thousands of people sign up for that. And they waited, like, you probably know Eric Gamio, right? So Flaco, he tells the story of, his wife wanted to kill him. He was at a New Year's Eve party, and at midnight, and he went in the bathroom and he got on his phone and he downloaded the manifesto because he wanted to read it. And it got translated into every language around the world, and we just put them up on the website and gave it away for free, and it was no money, anything, just get this message out there. And I introduced the concept of leverage sales and said, hey, I just think these scammers have taken over the name. You can't even say multi-level marketing or even network marketing anymore, and it's just painted with the brush of all these Ponzi schemes and things like that. And so let's leave those criminals behind and let's move forward. And then I did another manifesto where I felt, okay, I need to go back and do this again, 6, 7, 8 years later or long, I don't remember. But when the crypto scams started coming out, I'm like, okay, I've got to call out these crypto scams. And And I don't know, somehow 2 years ago, year and a half ago, Jaime was I have this event I did once a year called Tribal for influencers and political leaders and CEOs, and it's for authors and speakers and coaches, people who build big tribes. And I get a lot of network marketing people there too, because we build tribes. And we just came up with this idea, like, we have to take back network marketing. We have to take back MLM. We need to create a website and put educational content on there. We need to have a free email newsletter. We need to create videos, create social media channels, develop a annual training event where people can come and have a paid subscription newsletter, which we did now, called MLM Confidential, and for leaders who want to subscribe. And we're going to call out these things. We're going to print them by name and say, okay, this guy who 4 years ago had a cease and desist order and served 18 months in prison, and now he's out on bail again, and he just started another crazy crypto scam, And so we actually have a section in the newsletter where we mention those people every month. We have a private MLM, a private Facebook group for them. We have a private Telegram channel, and we update them when some of this crazy stuff is happening. You saw and I think why it's really, so acute for you is how countries like Mexico are getting victimized with it, because the economies are so bad. People are so poor with these, these promises of, these Instagram profiles of people who have 2 million followers, and they're in their private jets and their Lamborghinis and everything. I don't remember his name now. We just put I put it in the members, the subscriber group the other day, that guy in Mexico who was the crypto influencer had like 900,000 people on Instagram followers. And they just found his body chopped up in a duffel bag, which they identified with the tattoos and everything. And then they found his head in a separate bag, somewhere else. The people that are being kidnapped and extorted, because of course the criminals are the ones that are really driving this. And they found these enabling people who are promoting this stuff and suggesting, and it's legal, and it's network marketing, and I mean, in the third world countries, it's a bloodbath for those people.
Yeah, it is because another thing here is the government is very corrupt. So there's these companies that come in, they're ripping everybody off, and then they when the government comes down, they just pay them off. Say, look, here you go. Here's X amount of money. Leave me alone. And then they turn a blind eye. They keep doing it, and it's really bad. And it's sad with they target young kids, millennials that they promise them riches. You're gonna work from your phone and you're gonna make money. And there's all kinds of the bitcoins, the forex, all kinds of scams that come along. So it's sad. I get to see it firsthand, and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that they use the name of the industry to promote a scam where they would. I've seen people lost it all. And so it's very sad, and that's why I keep doing this, so I can kind of clear the name and show people that, look, this is a very great opportunity where you really can change your life. But you have to also be at the right place. You got to be alert. So I'm really glad that you have that website and provide that information. That's great. I got to take a look at it. There's nothing like it in Spanish. We got to do it in Spanish.
No, we're doing it in Spanish now too.
Oh, really?
We have in the Spanish version of it's Duplicación Nación, or Nación Duplicación, probably .com. and the MLM Confidential, English version, Spanish, because I'm doing it with Jaime. So we're
okay. All right. I'll ask Jaime then to send me the link.
Well, I'll send you the links after, and the links have been the show notes for anybody who's listening, watching. But yeah, we just, because what it is I think, like, do you know this crazy Andrew Tate guy who's got arrested in Romania? He's like, gets the women on the internet, and he's like being charged with sex trafficking right now and everything. So he was an MMA guy. He's young. I don't think he's even 30. Or maybe he's around there. And I see him doing interviews, and I say, there, but for the grace of God go I. Because if I had made the kind of money that he made at a young age, if I would have had social media at a young age, if I would have had the internet at that age, I was really blessed. I say I will be a millionaire before I'm 30. By the time I'm 35. I said that my whole teen years, young year. And when did I become a millionaire? When I became 35. It's the power of auto-suggestion that was Think and Grow Rich book talked about. I really believe that. Had I become a millionaire at 20, if I would have had social media, I really feel like I would have been corrupted by the dark side of the force. I was so poor my whole life. I despised being poor. I desperately wanted to be rich. And if I would have got, I came this close, if NSA, if their finance company would have approved my $5,000 credit, I probably might have been front loading people with water filters today. You know what I mean? If I had met somebody like Bill Gould when I was 23 or 25 years old, that's the path I would have taken, because I'm very shy one-on-one, but put me on a stage, I can rock the stage. You put 10,000 people in front of me, you put a quarter in the jukebox, and man, I'm going to work. I'm great at that. I can do video, I can do social media. I'm really blessed that I didn't develop those skills until I had matured and developed a sense of integrity and ethics, and understood that that's why like when I see these 20-year-old kids who are following Andrew Tate, and they're just Google-eyed over that, and they think that's the way to live. And the same thing with these MLM crypto scams, right? People are following them, and they are seeing those, I watch the Instagram videos, and here is my $1 million yacht that I paid for cash. And now these same people who were doing those posts are getting implicated in the Trader's Domain thing and the Go Global thing, and the Omega Pro, which turned into Go Global, and their world is falling apart around them. They're just and if they, I watched a Zoom hearing of a trial, a sentencing at a trial, and I saw a 78-year-old man get sentenced to 6 years in prison. A 78-year-old man who was an attorney, who had never broken a law in his life. He had never had a parking ticket. He got involved in some money game that he still to this day says he believes was legitimate, and that didn't know. And it was a money game. The people at the top were taking out the money. He'd say he didn't know it. And, he's my friend. I believe him. But I watched him collapse when the judge gave his sentence. Can you imagine being 78 years old and going to prison at 78 after you say
life sentence?
Right. And fortunately for him, it didn't. He got He's out on house arrest now because of the law that, with COVID and other things they wanted to so he spent like 2 years in prison. And if these people really knew how this Mike Sims guy, I mean, he's been in every Ponzi in the last 10 years, I think, in my opinion. Let me phrase it that way. But so now he's cooperating with the government, and they've seized all his phones and his laptops and everything. He can never be in the business. He can never sell investments. He can never. And, where does he end up? I don't know. But there's a lot of people with really big names who are influencers, and they're probably going to be wearing orange jumpsuits at some point. And people need to see. That's why we put in that link about the guy who got chopped up in the body bags. So say, this is because they don't understand. When you go to your friends, they say, listen, I put in 10 grand and now I've got 50 grand. You got to get in this deal. Well, of course they get in the deal. They're like, my God, you proved it. It already worked. You put 10, you're worth 50. So, and what is next? Those companies, those scams, they specifically train their people. Well, tell them they can get another mortgage on their house. Why would they want to? They have money in a savings account at 1.1%. They could get $200,000 out of their house, and they could put this into our amazing shit coin, which is paying 200% a year, guaranteed profits. And they do it. And they get their friends to do it, and their friends, and people put in their kids' college money. They put in their mortgage money. They put in their rent money, sometimes their grocery money. They're so convinced. And when it goes south, and it always goes south, those people, they want to hurt you. Those people, they want to kill you. And what's happening. And the point you brought up about the corruption in the government. I mean, they raided that guy who was a narco trafficker. They raided his office, and he was on that stage at that Las Vegas event. He was one of the big promoters, big Go Global guy. So they raided his thing. They arrested him. They found the cocaine, the guns, stacks of money, all this stuff. And miraculously, 3 months later, all of the charges have been dropped, and they've decided he's innocent. And that's how governments work in those places, right?
Right. But you're flipping a coin, because, like you said, if you rip off the wrong person here in Mexico, I mean, you don't know, you got the wife of somebody, you don't know, who the husband is, and she loses her money. Believe me, somebody's coming after you. So I've heard that here. It's not that they don't make it so obvious, but yeah, they'll kill a lot of those scammers here. So they're flipping a coin. They're like, man, they're flipping a coin with their life. But those are the guys on the top. The sad thing is the people that actually believed, they're like your friend, right? They didn't know, and so that's bad. That's tens of thousands of people are being ripped off every day, and then it makes it harder for us when we present something, and then you go like, oh yeah, I know somebody lost money, and then when you find out how they lost money, it was a scam. We're not a scam. We're a real business with real products or real services. And so it makes it harder for us, but we got to keep going,
So you found your way to Melaleuca, which is the antithesis. They have got to be one of the squeakiest, cleanest operations, totally product driven. I might disagree with some decisions VanderSloot has made along the way, but I will forever give him credit. I think he was really the first guy in our space who saw the value of auto ship, put in that culture there. And they have just one of the strongest auto ship cultures in anybody, if not the best. And you have a real a really strong onboarding process when you bring in customers, when you bring in distributors. Can you talk about that? What do you do, like, personally as a team leader, or what do you think the company does well as a company that creates that culture that you have there that's so strong?
Right. Well, the most important thing that I've learned through the years is everybody wants to build a residual income. I mean, it's everybody talks about it. It's like a big piece of what we promote, right? Never in any business, any company. But in my experience through the years and through the companies, I learned that there was not much residual income. Uh, and at least in my experience, why? Because most of my check, I would analyze my check, and I learned this. Let me go back. I learned this. I was in a company in California. It was the new deal, the new company, and we were growing like crazy. I remember I took my check in the first 10 months to like about $18,000. I'm like, yeah, making all this money. But then the new company came in, right? And so everybody's like, all right, let's go to that other one. It's better. And so I left to the other company and forgot about the one that I was promoting. But I remember my wife telling me, "Hey, we got a check, for $800 from the old company. What do? I'm like, "Oh, deposit it." The next month, she's like, "Hey, we got another $800." I'm like, "Wow, great, deposit it." But after the third or fourth month, I say, "Wait a minute. How are we getting $800 from this company when no one is there? Everybody left." So I look at the report for the first time after many, many years in network marketing. And I'm like, wait a minute, all these people are buying like 40, 50, $60 for the products. And I called them personally. I said, all right, hey, excuse me, what are you buying the products? We all left to the other company. And they were like, what other company? I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just buying this product because it's a great product. I feel great. I'm like, so you're not building a business? Or no. I never, my nephew told me about the product. I just buy it from the company. It's awesome. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Small order, real customer. I'm like, wait a minute. And so that check kept coming for years. And I was building all these businesses. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's the residual income. So I made $18,000 in that company, my highest check, but only $800 were residual. The other bonuses, it's just bonuses and commissions and, fast start bonus, whatever, is not residual income. So at that point, I learned what real residual income was. And I learned that in order to have a real residual income, you need to have a real customer that buys real products because they're really using them without any financial incentive. That's a real customer. And as I was going through that, I was starting to look at my reports, being a little more intelligent and being like, all right, so I made this money. Okay, great. But I want to know where it came from. And then I looked at all of it and I said, wait a minute, 80% of the volume that produced my check came from new enrollments, new people buying the packs. Okay, that's not residual. That's a one-time deal because those people are not going to buy the pack next month. They're going to buy an auto ship or whatever, but they're not buying the big pack. So I'm like, all right, let's look at the other 20%. And the other 20%, I realized, wait a minute, all this volume, about 10%, was from people buying statuses. They're 2,000 points from being a Gould, they purchase it. I'm like, okay, that volume is not residual income because it's a one-time purchase. They're not going to do it again next month. All right, so let's look at what's left. And when I look at what's left, I'm like, okay, about 4 or 5% is auto ships. In other words, it's people, they're placing their order because they want to get a check. I'm like, all right, as long as they keep getting the check, that I can count with that auto ship. And then the other one, it's, these are customers that they're not in the business, they're just happy with the products. So I'm like, wait a minute. So out of my whole check, maybe 7 or 8% comes from real customers, is residual income. The rest is just commissions. So as I went through many, many companies, I was approached with Melaleuca, right? And my first reaction was to say no. I said, I'm not interested. I was under the idea that you had to be with a brand new company, be one of the first ones, and you know how it is, right? That if you were with, Microsoft at the beginning or Facebook, man, you would be a trillionaire. And so I believe in that. So I looked at a company, and it was the year 2000, and I'm like, wait a minute, this company's been around for 15 years already. This is a dinosaur. No, I'm not interested. No. And but the guy that presented me, he was very smart because he did a great follow up with me. He followed up with me for 5 years. I mean, the guy. I mean, I said no to the company for 5 years, but during these 5 years,
that's another one of these truth bombs, right? That I talk about in the show. That, like, the thing with Gould when he said, "Hey, you speak Spanish, you're bilingual," This, I hope people caught that. This guy followed up with you for 5 years, just touching base, doing it in a way that obviously didn't insult you or alienate you. You were still willing to take his call. So for 5 years, and then what happened?
Yeah. So during those 5 years, he was very smart because he would call me about every 6 months. So he was not, bothering me all the time. He would call me, how you doing? How's your business? And then he would tell me, hey, I just wanted to let you know. And remember, and then he would take one piece of the company to share with me. For example, he would say, look, I've been telling you about the company. Look, we have real customers that buy real products because they're really using them. The majority of them. And he would say things like about 80% only buy, they're consumers, they're not in the business. And I wouldn't believe it. I would be like, that's a lie, bro. I mean, most people that get involved in these businesses, 80 to 90% of the people representing the company are for the money. They love the products, but they're in for the money. So you're telling me you have a business where 80% are not in the business? I don't believe you. And he was smart enough to say, okay, I will fax you my business report, because back then there was no, technology like nowadays. And I would go through his report and I would look all these customers with very small orders, $50, $60. I'm like, wait a minute. It reminded me of, wait a minute, that company that I was getting that check, and this guy has this. And then in the report, he would tell me, look, those with the C means customers. They're not in business. The other ones, yeah, they're in the business. So I would look at it and I'm like, whoa, 80%. He's right. I'm like, okay, it's interesting, but still not interested, right? 6 months later, he will call me again and say, hey, look, if you want to make real money, you have to have a good retention. Because if you just, recruit people, and they keep leaving, it's a never-ending story. And he said, I have a 96% retention. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, out of 100 people enroll, 96% will shop again and shop again. I'm like, nah, that's not. Because in my experience, they will last 3, 4, 5 months, and then you gotta find somebody new. And then he sent me a report again. And yep, there it says 96%. But I wouldn't believe it. And he says, all right, I'm going to send you a report 6 months from now. Keep my report. I'm going to send you another report. And you're going to see the same customers that they don't get a check. They will be shopping 6 months from now. I'm like, I like to see that. And then he does. And then I remember spending hours I wanted to prove him wrong. I wanted to prove him that he was lying to me. And, whoa, he was like, yeah, he's got a 96% reorder rate. And then 6 months later, hey, Rafael, when I met you, I was making, $15,000 a month. Now my check's at $60,000. I'm like, you're kidding me. And I've been in the industry. I told him, all right, well, yeah, that's one check. Everybody talks about their big check, and they make it like, if they made 20,000, they're like, I make 20,000 a month. No, you made it one time. Show me the sequence. And I told him that. I told him, hey, I don't believe you 60,000. Yeah, maybe 1 month. I said, you had a lot of recruitment and a lot of volume coming on. And he would be like, no, we don't have that here. We don't have packs where people buy a bunch of products. I'm like, what? And so how does that, show me a few checks. And then he would show me the checks. I'd be like, well, God, what? He's making it every single month. I'm like, okay. And so that went on for 5 years. And he would say things like, look, uh, we really compete with the grocery stores. We compete. I mean, we want the customers that goes to Walmart. I'm like, come on, man. So I would take their catalogs and I would be like an idiot on Walmart looking at the products and looking at the prices between Walmart and I was like, oh my God, they really compete on prices. So as this went on for 5 years, I saw the company grow. When in the year 2000, they were about 300 million in sales. Not bad. But 5 years later, there were 900 million. So I'm like, whoa, they went 3 times in 5 years. But the guy that referred me to Melaleuca, I met him when he was making 15 grand. 5 years later, he was making about 100 grand a month, solid residual. I'm like, I gotta do this deal. So I've enrolled and came in, and with the experience that I had. By the way, I didn't bring teams because the last experience was horrible. Everybody quit. So I started with five of my guys that follow me to the end of the earth. And I said, all right, let's do this, guys. And it was really easy because there was no selling products. There's no retail. I'm like, okay. That was one of the big issues for me in MLM, that people didn't want to sell the products. So there was no retail. And then there was not a big investment. You could start with $100. So I'm like, this is easy, man. So I went in and I just started building my business. My first check was over $28,000. I was like, what? And I was like, this is it. I think I found what I was looking for. And yeah, they're very strict. They're very you can't mess up. There's no lying. There's no over promising. There's no exaggerating. There's no flashing. I remember when I first when social media started, at one point I went crazy also. I bought the Lamborghini and the Ferraris and all that. And I remember I had like 8 of those fancy cars. I bought them all red. I like that color. And I took a picture outside my house with all these cars, and I posted on social media and all that. And then I get a call from the company and says, you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, look, we don't want you to be promoting our company and telling people, look, you can have this Lamborghini if you enroll, because it's not true. They said, it's not true. They can have it, yes, but 99.999% of people are not going to do what you did. And so that's misleading. And we don't want people to come into our company thinking they're going to get a Lamborghini. We want them to get in because they're going to experience great products, and they're going to love our products. They're going to shop with us. And I'm like, okay, So I went out and I used to, do meetings and, you charge the entrance, you make some money under the table, for the meeting. And they said, no, you can't do that. I'm like, what? Yeah, we don't want you to profit from the distributors. I'm like, okay. So I started to learn all these things. And one of the biggest lessons I got was from Frank VanderSloot. So I've been in the company about 2 years. I broke the record to the highest level, the fastest. And then we went to a trip with it's called the President's Club with Frank, the top leaders, the big guys of that year. So I go there. I just reached the highest level. I got a humongous check, the $310,000 they gave me, right? And I'm all excited. And then during the meeting, they said, Frank wants to talk to you after dinner privately. I'm like, yeah, cool, he's probably going to tell me how great I'm doing, how proud he's of me, breaking the records, Hispanic guy, open the whole market for them. And then I sit down with him and he says, I'm very concerned. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm very concerned because you're building the business the wrong way. I'm like, what? I'm like, yes, I'm very concerned that you will not have a business in a few years and you'll be gone. I'm like, why? He says, because you are building a money deal. You're not building a customer base. You're building money deals. You're just talking about the money. You're just talking about how much money you have, and you show your checks and your success and your team's success. And everybody wants that success. And yes, you are getting a lot of people in, but we're looking at your numbers and we can see how many are coming out. Because what happens is that if people enroll in your business thinking they're going to make 10 grand, when they don't make it, they quit. They go like, well, didn't work for me. I got to go. And he says, but if you're getting people in based on the products, and also they can make good money, but they're sold on the products, they're sold on the concept of the company, then they're going to go and work. And if they don't make 10,000 like they hoped, guess what? They love the products. They will stay with us and you will have a solid business. He says, you got to build a customer foundation and you don't have it. You have a bunch of people in your team that just want to make money. And yeah, they're making good money. And I had people making 70 grand a month back then. And he's like, that is wrong. Because we're looking at your customer base and you don't have the customer that you should have. It should be 80% customers, 20% business builders. So I'm like, whoa, I'm doing it wrong. So interesting enough, I came back with my team after that trip. And I said, guys, we're doing it wrong. And everybody like, what? You know, they're making more money than never made in their lives. And you got to understand, some of these people used to, work in restaurants or construction, and now they're making $70,000 a month. I mean, it's crazy. So I tell them, guys, we're doing it wrong. And then I told them, what I've learned, and said, we got to change. We got to get people in based on the products, based on why they're shopping here. And then we can also show them how to make a lot of money. All right. So let's spend more time on our product presentation, on what the products do, what they're better. So I'm like, all right, let's do that. Anyways, some of my leaders, they say, all right, let's do it. I mean, Frank knows better than anybody, he's been around for the longest in this company. So we started doing it. It took some time to move the boat to the right direction. But here's what happens to me. I had a few leaders that never bought that idea. They said, nah, I'm going to keep doing it the way it works. I'm not going to change it. And long story short, those guys, I saw them from going and making 80 grand a month to not having a business. And now I hear from them and they've been jumping to company to company. A lot of them ended up frustrated on the cryptos, Ponzi schemes, trying to make some money. And it was just because they simply didn't understand that in order to have a real business, you have to have real customers. You can't own a coffee shop and your business is just selling coffee shops. No, you need to have customers buying coffee. And sometimes I see people that all they promote is the business. Wait a minute, but what is the product or what is the service? That is very important. Otherwise, you're not going to have real customers and you're going to end up like a lot of people that have been around for a long time and they don't have the money they should be making because they don't have real customers. And so I've learned that big lesson, and that's how I build a business. Right now, I have a team, and I'm flying out to another city to do a meeting with them. And this new team, their focus is they came from MLM, and they were just business, recruiting, and so they enroll a lot of people. Well, they're getting started. They enrolled up 200 customers last month. The month before. And then I see the last month, and I saw the retention, and it was about 40%. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That means 60% of the people, they just enroll for the business to make a bonus, or you tell the people, hey, listen, just buy me this month so I can achieve whatever level and I get the bonus and then cancel next month. That's very typical. And I said, we don't do that here. So I got to go teach them, guys, get your customers. All right, and we're gonna find business builders. That's okay. Yeah, we're looking for the business builders. Don't get me wrong, but we need customers. All right. So yeah, that's how I build right now. So I make sure everybody understands customers. A lot of follow up. I think that's key. A lot of times I don't see people teaching enough about follow up. In follow up, I mean, it's you have to follow up with your appointments. People that never pick up the phone. Sometimes we forget about them. You need to follow up on the ones that did pick up the call and maybe they gave you excuses and didn't show up for an appointment. Okay, well, you got to follow up with them until they do show up for an appointment. And the ones that did show up in an appointment and didn't enroll, okay, you got to follow up with them just like they follow up with me for 5 years. and the ones that did enroll and they're in part of the business, well, then you need to follow up with them to teach them how to do it right. Because not because they came in means they got it. No, now you got to teach them about your company, about your principles, about what works, what doesn't work, and follow up with them. So I follow up for me is so important to be successful in the business. So you can duplicate your team with the right activities, and then everything can, grow. So
that's the onboarding process I was asking about, because that's how you create culture, is that onboarding process. I think and with Melaleuca, they do such a great job with auto ship, but they have different packages, right? There's like a vitamin pack, there's a household cleaning pack, there's different. How do they present that, or what do they do so well that causes, are people able to say, well, the first month I want my health vitamin auto ship, and the next month I want my cleaning product one, and the third one I want my kitchen one? Or what do they do that just keeps people buying every month, other than obviously they have good products?
Right. So we don't have, it's not an auto ship. Auto ship, it's, okay, I want this, and ship it to me every month, right? It could be a vitamin pack or whatever.
It's not a set product auto ship.
So we don't have auto ship. Let me go back a little bit. Most people place their order. We have over 500 products, right? So there's something, we even sell meat, you know what I mean? So,
Do you now?
Wow. Yeah, we own our own, we have our own cattle and everything. So, so people buy what they need. They don't, auto ship is not, it's very minimum. What we do have is called a backup order. And this is
right. That's the language, backup order.
Yeah, and this is only if the customer didn't place an order. All right, so the customers forgot, or I don't know. Then the customer tells the company, look, if I ever forget, please send me. And they pick 4 or 5 products that they know they're going to use. For some people, it could be vitamins. For some of the people, it would be cleaning products or the mixture. So they create their own whatever they want, and they can change it at any time. Now, that is not shipped. It is only if they forget. And people that forget is very minimal, because we are actually a shopping club. People actually go in and they shop. I'm running out of this, I'm running out of that. We're a store. We have, like I said, more than 500 products. So it's very rare that somebody gets a backup order. But when they do, because they didn't place the order, then they get whatever they, and now if they didn't select it, then the company ships them like some of the favorite ones, because they don't know, hey, he didn't tell us what they want, so, and they didn't place an order. Well, let's send them some of our favorite products, and so that's the way that works. But most people tell the company, look, if I ever forget, send me these, please, and that's it.
Yeah, this culture evolution that we both have gone through over the decades, we can say now, it's really extraordinary. Because I was one of those guys that, God, come on, the products don't matter. If everybody buys $100 a month, we all get our check and we all make money, and it's a great thing. Don Faila taught me to that. He said, Randy, the products, you just throw them in the river. It doesn't matter. If everybody's buying every month, we all make money. And he was working, 18 different deals at a time. He would come to town to train you for, I was with him in like Cernitine, and then he'd say, oh, and I have this pen, and when you take off the cap, it has a rubber stamp with your name and address in there, and we sell, and so he would take orders for 20 of those, and then he would get a glass and he would mix up some, and I'm like, what? Oh, it's an age retardant from Japan. It'll give you the sexual appetite of a teenager, but without the acne. And you go, oh, God, give me some of that, and he'd sign you up in 10 different deals. And of course, what happens? You can't stay qualified in 10 different deals. He can, because he's going around selling his 10 napkin books and doing his seminars and sponsoring 150 people every month, and it works out great for him. And him and Nancy were traveling the country in their Winnebago, doing their thing. But so I realized, oh my God, the newest people this month they didn't order yet because they didn't have anybody under them, so they didn't buy. And then the people above them said, well, why should I order? Because the people under me didn't order. And so I would build up this group in 180 days, 4 months, 5 months, you'd have this big group growing, and then it would just start to die off at the bottom because the newest people didn't get the hype at the level that you could maintain it at the top, because you can do the rah-rah for about 6 levels. If you're really charismatic, if you can really rock the stage, we like to say, we're building this triangle, and each level it goes down. But for most people, it's actually a diamond, but it's not the good kind of diamond. It's because they have themselves, and then they have 11 on this first level, and 18 on the second, and 50 on the third, and 120 on the next, and 500 on the next. But then by the 6th, 7th level, instead of 800 on the line before, now it goes down to 500, and the 500 goes down to 312, and the 312 goes down to 89, and then the 89 goes down to 22, and then the 22 goes down to one lonely housewife in Iowa. And the attrition starts at the bottom, and then it creeps the way up. And so I learned about product, right? I finally came around, maybe 2010 or whenever, maybe it's around the same time you did, 2010, I don't know. It's like, okay, yeah, we need customers. And then and a lot of people are talking the standard now. Well, you need 51%, because if you go to the FTC in the United States or some of the regulators, that's what they're going to say. They want to say, we better see at least one more customer than we see distributor. Because if there's not, then you're a closed buying club, and that's illegal, which people don't understand. They say, oh, no, Costco is a closed buying club, and yes, but they don't pay a multi-level commission. BJ's Warehouse is no problem to be a closed buying club, but they don't pay multi-level commission. If you're paying a multi-level commission, the standard now changes, because they say, how does the person at the bottom how does the last person who joins the program, how would they make money? Because there would be no one else to sign up. It's basically the saturation argument that the government made against Amway back in the 70s. And the government lost that case, right? But that still kind of influences the case law. It influences whether a judge is going to give a temporary restraining order to go in and padlock a company or seize the genealogy and check the books. But now I think the savvy companies are coming to this place now, like where you're saying, like, well, no, there probably should be 80% customers and 20% builders. And even 2 years ago, I would have said, nah, 80%, you don't have to go that crazy. There's so many people who want to make money. There's so many. And I think we're in a really exciting time, because we have like some people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who presents entrepreneurship as a cool thing. And then you have the creepy people like Andrew Tate, who present it as a cool thing, but it's pretty evil the way they do it. So there's a lot of later millennial generations who don't want a job. They don't want a career. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to work for themselves. And so they monetize videos on YouTube. They've set up a store on eBay. They deliver Uber Eats 2 days a week. They have all these side gigs, and we've got the ultimate side gig business. But in the last couple of years, I'm like the companies I'm working with, Jaime and I work with, we're really saying, particularly in LATAM, by the way, and Asia. LATAM and Asia, the distributors have refined gaming the comp plan to an art form. So a company will hire us and say, yes, we want you to come in and build out our duplicable system and create some recruiting videos, and we're great. Okay, let's take a look under the hood. Let's see what you got, how many distributors you got, how many customers do you have, and a lot of them do not have good ratios at all. And that's right away we're telling them, listen, we're going to have real issues here. You are a temporary restraining order waiting to happen. You have a really bad ratio here. And then we go in and we get under the hood and they say, no, see, we have 40,000 active team members, and we have 70,000 active customers every month. And we put in 12,000 new customers every month. Oh, okay, let's dig. And then we dig a little deeper, and they're gaming the comp plan because they have some kind of an activation order kit that has a sexier point value than an existing distributor can get. So what do is they are creating false distributorships. And, it starts with, okay, they sign up mom and then dad and tia and tio and, Pookie and Ray, the cousins. And then it's the bird and the dog and the cat. And then pretty soon they're just combing the cemetery looking for dead names. And they're creating all these false things and then ordering these kits, which they are then actually, in some cases in LATAM, they are actually taking those products and going out and retailing them. And they're doing it. They actually have retail customers, but they'd never be able to prove it to the government because the customers they're signing up are ghost accounts. They don't really exist. And the fact that, okay, great, you're signing up 12,000 new customers a month, but you're an 8-year-old company. Why do you only have 70,000 customers if you have 12,000 coming in every month? What happened to the last 200,000 customers that, well, they didn't really exist? Now, if you look at Utilities Warehouse and Zincino and Melaleuca and the companies that really get the customer thing, I think that's the path I'm really pushing my team, my clients, my friends, my colleagues. That's what I'm pushing, because that's where the magic is going to be long term. We've got to, and I wouldn't now when I have somebody, I'm telling them, yeah, let's go for that 80% mark. Let's get that every team member has at least 10 retail customers, a regular every month, 1 to 10. And after a couple of years, maybe they're at 18 to 1. And maybe after 5 years, they're 40 to 1. And after 10 years, yeah, they really might have 80 different customers or 100 different customers. It can, and that can be a natural thing. And yes, there will, hopefully, if you've done your job right with the comp plan and the recognition program and the rewards, there will be some of those customers who every month say, well, the sponsor saying, and by the way, I know you love the products and you're using them every month, and you've recommended friends to me who are using the product, and you're not getting a commission on that. You sure you don't want to be a distributor and create some override? And you'll have some of those people migrating into customers.
That is exactly right. That is exactly what happens to me all the time. And yeah, that ratio to, for example, I have close to about 700 customers, personal, but only about 35 of them build a business. So that goes to show. Now, the problem that I see also is that sometimes greed comes into the well, look, if I can get this person to invest, I don't know, $1,000, and I get 10 of those, I make more money than if I just go out and find customers. Yeah, in the short term. In the long term, you won't, right? Because you have to keep replacing those people that come in with $1,000. So how about if you have a balance of, let's get some real customers, teach our team to get real customers, and yeah, find business builders. That's great. But not just focus on business builders. And a lot of companies do that nowadays, where the focus is just selling the big pack, and let's see how many packs we can sell. I'm not 100% on that. I tried it in the past. Yeah, you can create volume and maybe get a little bit a bigger check. But when I've enrolled in this business 30, 40 years ago, there was three things that caught my attention. Number one, the residual income. You know, oh, you're gonna make money for the rest of your life, you know, for whatever you do with us right now. I learned, you know, through the years that I was not true. You know, I brought in tens of thousands of customers for various companies. None of them send me a check nowadays, because a lot of them are out of business because they never focus on having real customers. And the ones that are not out of business, well, they're not growing here. They're growing probably in some country in Europe or Asia, or I don't know.
Right.
So the second thing that caught my eye was, okay, this is a business where you'll be able to help people, right? And I'm like, well, that's awesome. I like to help people. Again, I started building the business, and as I was selling packs and focused so much in the building volume, a lot of people got hurt. I saw a lot of people getting hurt, getting debt, and that didn't feel good. And nobody was really getting rich. We were just getting by. We got into the fake it till you make it. I call it a lie. You know, I did it. You know, I was broke, but I got a Mercedes Benz, and I went to Tijuana and bought myself a fake Rolex, you know, $30 Rolex, you know, because that's what they were teaching you. Had to look so successful, right? So I did that, and then my people were doing the same thing. So we're a bunch of people, you know, wearing nice clothes and fake watches and pretending to be successful. But at the end of the day, everybody got hurt. So that second thing that caught my eye, helping people, was not, I didn't see it happening. So I got frustrated with that. And then the third one, they said, well, if you do this business, you're going to live your life in your own terms. You're going to be free. You're going to have all this time, you know, and get your check. And well, when I was doing it, I was kind of like a slave. You know, I was working till early in the morning, late at nights, during vacations. I mean, I felt like a psychiatrist, you know, calling me, oh, you know, my husband, and, you know, I'm like, where is the freedom? I don't have any time. I'm working every single hour of the day. So those three things that got my attention at the beginning didn't happen for me for 15 years. And that's why I got tired of it. And actually, that's why I say no to the company for 5 years. It's like, I'm done, man. I'm tired of it. But when you incorporate the right principles, focus on real customers, building a business with no exaggerations, no bluff, no just simple business principles, then you can build a nice business that can last a lifetime. And you know, it is going to take time. I tell people this business is simple, not easy, but it's simple. And it takes time and persistence, and just keep doing what you're doing, get good at it, teach people, and it'll happen to you.
All right, so that whole section you just said, that's what I wish somebody would have told me 40 years ago. And you probably wish somebody would have told you when you started out. But I'll guarantee you there's thousands of people who just listen to that, who say, oh my, you know, that. And they also would say, oh man, I just wish I had the chance to be one-on-one with Rafa after some event and just be able to say, what else? You know, I'm brand new. I'm willing to work. I have the dream. What is the secret of success? Or what is the one thing you think I need to know most? What would you tell those people?
That, well, obviously you would tell them there's no one thing that would, guarantee your success. It's many things that you have to put together. But one of the most important things I would say would be calendar activity. All right. Because as we get into the business, there's going to be many things that we need to do, like, work with your list and do your phone calls or presentations, basic things. But you need to calendar your time, especially in this type of business where you're your own boss, you control your own times, and people get kind of like sidetracked and they say, okay, I'm going to do 5 phone calls, but they don't set a time for it. And then, a day goes by, they didn't do the calls. So I always teach my team, okay, you got to calendar activity. Like, you look at my calendar, I'm sure yours too, you have all these things that you need to accomplish, all these things that you need to do. You go from the most important ones to the little ones. And in this business, there's pretty much 4 activities that have to be in your calendar. And that is, keep adding names to the list. Because sometimes we talk about, okay, you got to make your list. Great. But I always tell them, not only your list, you need to add people to your list. Because, from your list, yeah, you're going to get some people, but sometimes it's the hardest because there's the families, the friends, and, we all know, that they're the first ones to be sometimes negative, and that may get you down. But there's millions of people out there that are looking for what you got. We just need to go out and find them. So put in your calendar or in your activity calendar, add people to the list. So and at the right places. What do you promote? Like if you promote, I don't know, diet products. Well, how about if you get in the gym, even if you don't like working out, well, guess what? Get in a spinning class and meet everybody there and you add some names to your list. But that's something that has to be on. Yeah, that's what we do. This is our business, talking to people. So calendar, how many people you're going to add. And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to add 10 people a day. That's crazy. But how about if you add 1 a day? That's good. That's 30 a month. How about phone calls? You need to get on the phone. I mean, to set up appointments, to build relationships, whatever. Put it in your calendar. When is a good time for? The great thing about this business, it could be on your own time, like maybe 7 p.m. For others, it's 11. But set the time and be very, very like if it was a job. I mean, if you set up doing an hour phone calls, you do an hour phone calls. Not checking Facebook, not checking your email. It's phone calls. Just get it done. And presentations, you gotta put them on the calendar. How many presentations you're gonna be doing? How many one-on-ones? How many Zooms? How many group meetings? Whatever it is. And follow up, right? You need, like I mentioned before, you have to do a lot of follow up. So all those things you need to put on your calendar, and they have to be a part of what you're doing. The good thing about this, I tell people, look, let's say that you set up to make 5 phone calls a day. That's very doable nowadays, with your phone and your Bluetooth. It's easy. Set up the time, and it's something that it's gonna build, because if you do that 5 times a week, that's 25 people, 100 a month. But if you try to do like 20 phone calls in one day and in 3 days you don't, it's not gonna have the same effect. So that would be one of the first things that I tell them. Look, set up the 4 crucial activities of the business, put them in your calendar, and stick to it. Don't change it. Be very, very disciplined on it, and you will see results. And another thing I tell them: look, don't expect to get rich in the next month or 2 or 3. It is not a 100-meter dash. This is more like a marathon, but it'll be worth it. Long term, it will be worth it. So those are some of the things that I would usually tell people.
Yeah, for me, if someone's asking me that kind of thing, I'm a believer if you will take 15 minutes every weekend and plan your calendar. It don't matter. I still use a paper, notebook, one that I carry in my laptop bag, and that on your phone, Google Calendar, however you want it. It doesn't matter. If you just take 15 minutes on Sunday night at 6 p.m. and plan your calendar for the week, for most people, they will double or triple their business in 120 days, because the deal is you're going to start it part-time, great side gig, no problem. You don't have to quit your job. We don't want you to quit your job, but you need to do at least 10 or 12 hours a week to grow the business. Can't do it in 2 hours a week. I don't care what kind of bullshit you hear on the internet and the $29 ebook on how you do it 2 hours a week won't work. Because if you do sponsor somebody serious, you have to support them. And you can't do that in 2 hours a week. So you got to do it. So what does that mean? It means, okay, you've got to figure how much of that 10 or 12 hours a week can I put into what I call rainmaker activity, what you just called the 4 crucial activities, right? Stuff that moves the dial, stuff that causes people to become customers, causes people to join the team. That's how we get paid. The way the crypto scams work, you get money on the headhunter fees. You get money on selling air. The way it works in the real business is we only get paid on products or services that get to the end consumer. So if you will set aside your week and you have time for inviting, you have time for presenting, you have time for follow-up, servicing customers, that stuff makes the big difference. The other thing jumped out, you talked about health. Melaleuca isn't really a wellness company. They're more of like you say, you're competing with Walmart, yet you're a very healthy guy. I have to ask about this jungle gym in Tulum that you were at. What was the deal with that?
So, well, we've seen it, right? Some influencers have been there, and so we were actually at a company event, and we were in Tulum. So my wife is also very, very fitness oriented and very fit. So like, all right, let's go. And then my daughter is also into the fitness industry. She and her husband have 2 gyms. So there we are, the 4 of us. We go there, and we started working out, and it's pretty amazing. So we had a great time, and we took some pictures, and it was just cool. It was
Jaime sent it to me. Before I talk with people, I'll usually ask a mutual friend, hey, I'm talking to Rafa tomorrow. Anything, you think I should ask him about? And he sent me the link to, it was like your Instagram post at that place in Tulum. I've never even been to Tulum. I don't even know which part of Mexico is that in.
So, Cancun.
Yeah.
It's about an hour, I would say, west of Cancun. Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And it's like an outdoor resort with all of this fitness stuff, because it was like all outside with wooden swings and wooden cable poles, and I mean, it looked amazing.
Right. Yeah. No, actually, it's a gym. Right. It's just a gym. It's not a property. It's just a gym.
Really? Okay.
Right on the beach, and then you have right next to it, you have all these small hotels. It's not like Cancun, like the big, multi-billion-dollar hotels. No, it's more like a small hotels, very nice, and it's beautiful. And this gym is just there. It's just there. People go there. You pay for the day, and then you can just work out. And a lot of famous people are there, and you can see on the walls all these big names have been there and work out, took the picture. So it's a place to go if you like working out and you're in that part of the world. It's a place to go. You have to go.
So that's got to be the Mexican equivalent of Venice Beach, California, then.
But you may say so. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Well, I do have to check it out because I love to work out. So, yeah, that looks cool. All right, I started a new tradition recently. The last question I ask every partner that I do this with is, okay, tell me what was your worst rejection you ever had, or the worst presentation nightmare, one-on-one, two-on-one, hotel meeting, online meeting. What was the worst disaster you ever had to go through? And what did you learn from it?
Right. So actually it was my first presentation. It was, I'm starting to sell these water filters, right? Don't know how to do it with NSA. So I've been in the meetings. English presentations, and I'm there. My English wasn't that great at the time, so I'm like kind of learning, and so my sponsor said, "Look, we gotta start doing this in Spanish. Monday nights we don't have meetings, okay? So you're gonna start doing Spanish meetings." And I got all nervous, and she's like, "All right." So actually this Monday I already invited some people, Spanish-speaking people, and they're gonna be here, and you're gonna do the meeting. I'm like, "Oh my god!" So there I'm at, and then the guys that came in, it was the cleaning guys from the building. So my sponsors just tell the cleaning people, "Hey, come on Monday, you can make money here," right? And I didn't know. So I'm there, and there's these guys with their vacuums, and they're just sitting in the chairs. And I started doing the presentation, and my mind just went blank, like boom, didn't know what. So I didn't know what I was saying. The presentation probably lasted 15 minutes. Forgot everything. I did the water filter demo wrong. Didn't put the drops where I was supposed to put them. It was a disaster. So I finish and I tell them, "All right, so are you a category number 1, not interested? Category 2, want to be a customer? Category 3, you want to build a business?" They just looked at me. They didn't even answer. They stood up and they plugged in their vacuums and started vacuuming the office. And I felt so bad. I kind of helped them out, clean it out for wasting their time. And I was like so depressed, and I thought, man, maybe this business is not for Hispanics. This is more for the Americans. So that day, this is something interesting. I left. It was like 9 p.m. All sad. Got into the elevator, and as I'm going down, this guy that I've seen in the building a couple times comes in and gets on the building and on the elevator. He's a huge guy, right? I'm kind of short, 5'7". He's huge. And I'm like, oh, like just looking down. And he's like, "You're okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, are you with the water filters?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What's going on?" And I say, "Well, I don't know if this is for the Hispanics. I don't think, maybe this is for the Americans. With Hispanics, maybe we don't drink water enough. I don't know." And then he told me, "Look, the day you learn how to get into people's heart, into their emotions, it doesn't matter if they're Hispanics or Americans or Asians, you will get what you want. But first, focus on what they want. Get to their heart, to their emotions, and you'll achieve success." Now, this big guy, months later, I see him on TV.
It has to be Tony Robbins.
Yes. So that was insane.
Unbelievable. So he just happened to be in the elevator when he walked in the elevator when you were at that lowest point.
Right. So here's the story. My sponsor's mom was the secretary of Tony Robbins. And Tony had his office right next to the office that we had for the water filters in La Jolla, California, right?
Uh-huh.
And so at that time, he was recording, okay, the 30 Days to Personal Power.
Okay.
All right. And he would stay up late recording. And so that's when, we crossed paths. Later on, that's when I knew that my sponsor, because I told my sponsor, "Hey, these guys," he's like, "Yeah, my mom is the secretary." I'm like, "Oh." And then, but I didn't know who he was. He wasn't that famous. And then I saw him on TV, and then the rest is history, Now he's Tony Robbins.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Just that chance encounter. Maybe if he didn't give you those encouraging words, you would have dropped out that night.
Probably. And you know what? That stayed in my mind. I mean, it stayed with me forever. And I'm like, all right, I need to learn how to get to their emotions, their heart, what they really want, and not focus so much on me, on what I want. And so I started to learn how to do that and develop that, and it worked.
Amazing. Rafa, I can't thank you enough. This was just, I didn't know how I would make it through with this COVID. I was thinking I was going to wake up this morning and test negative and have all my energy back and be rebounding. And that didn't happen. So I didn't know, but it's been such a engaging conversation, just filled with truth bombs that I know people are really going to appreciate. So you guys listening, watching, like, subscribe, let your team know about it. DuplicationNation.com. Sign up for the free MLM bootcamp, kind of 9 free lessons. And every 10 days, there's a new episode here of Chopping It Up, just like we had here today. So Rafael, really, this was filled with truth bombs. I will be back in touch for volume 2 and volume 3 and volume 10, because as I'm assembling this faculty of mastermind, brainstorming, visionary, elite geniuses in our space, I'm just going to keep collecting them and bringing them back for encore presentations. So I hope you'll be open to that. So thank you, my friend. I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. I had a great time, and I think there was a lot of good stuff that we talk about. So thank you for inviting me, and anytime I'll be more than willing to do it. Thank you so much.
All right, all you guys listening, peace, love, and unicorns. Hey guys, I'm back, and I just want to thank you for listening or watching, and let you know, if you made it this far, you are a serious, credible leader. You're somebody committed to success, professionalism, and honing your craft, sharpening your saw. So I want to recommend a resource to you. It's a monthly newsletter called MLM Confidential. Leadership lesson every month, duplication lesson every month, something we call the dish, which is kind of the industry news, what's going on in the space, who's moving where, what company's shutting down, what company's opening up, what is the dish, the dirt of what's really going on behind the scenes that maybe the average person doesn't know. And there's a personal challenge every month. So check it out, mlmconfidential.com. I'll see you next week.